What's up, guys? Rich Duperbash. I'm out here in the garage. We've had some really wet weather the last several days, probably over a week, going into last weekend. So anyway, I've been doing a ton of wrenching, and I finally got my V3 Kraton all dialed in here. So I just put this together the last couple days, and the biggest thing I wanted to share was this chassis on here. I don't know if you can see the engraving, but this is a prototype chassis option, the M2C Racing Kraton chassis. Basically, this is a 7075 T6 4mm aluminum upgrade option, and my plan right now is to test this with my regular Voltage Hobbies upgrades, etc., with no tower-to-tower brace. So I'm definitely going to put this thing to the test. Huge hats off to Mitch Looper with M2C Racing for sending this out to me. I'm not certain when this will be available, but we're going to go ahead as soon as the weather improves. I'll get this out and definitely beat on it as hard as I can, and we'll see how this goes. I will say though, so far this chassis, just doing the old knee bend test, there is really hardly any flex at all. This thing went together beautifully. Of course, the production chassis will look a lot nicer because it'll be anodized. But I gotta say, all the holes lined up perfectly. Definitely a nice addition here in the back. I don't know if you guys will notice, but normally with the Kraton chassis, it starts to taper right at the mudguard here. So what we did was we extended it. This was a suggestion we made just for added beefiness, is decrease the taper on the back so it's not quite so skinny. So anyway, this thing is just awesome. I'm super excited. Once the weather improves, I can get out and start bashing this thing. I got all the holes lined up with the stock chassis and the upgraded, the prototype chassis here, and you'll see the angle difference in the back here, where we kind of just came out a little further and then had a little sharper taper to the rear diff case. So that should definitely decrease the risk for bendage or any flexing in the rear. Hopefully this will be a success, and then we'll talk about doing an Outcast or maybe even a V3 Talion chassis. This thing is definitely super beefy. Just goes beautiful with the Voltage suspension mount, or chassis braces as well. Also got the Voltage servo support up front, suspension mounts, and also the Voltage steering rack. This piece right here that I talked about in my previous video is really critical. I recommend definitely upgrading to either GKA or a Voltage solid aluminum wing mount stop, or I'm sorry, wing mount bracket, whatever you want to call it. And then I also I recommend using longer screws when you sink these. You want to make sure you get full length. I switched over with the Typhon / V3 Talion wing, just because this thing's a lot more rigid and durable than the stock Kraton wing. Shout out to RC Juice. I'll be running the Hobby Star long can high torque 4092. This one is the 1480 kV, and I've got a 22 tooth pinion in there. And this time I'm going to be trying the Hexfly Hex 8 150 amp ESC. Not sure who at Horizon Hobbies sent this to me, but somebody just randomly surprised me with this truck. Thank you very much. This essentially was like a late Christmas gift for me. So I've already ripped this thing in the street between rain showers, and I absolutely love how these tires hook up. You do have to be a little bit careful, as you guys have seen in other videos. This thing is a little bit top heavy. If you try and power into a turn really hard, you're probably going to go rolling. Hopefully we'll get some hex extenders on this sucker. But yeah, I gave it a quick test rip with the Hot Racing motor mount. I went up to an 18 tooth, and this thing is just a complete animal. Guys, one last little tech tip. Recently I was dinking around with my new Big Rock, and I went to put on my my 12 to 17 millimeter Hot Racing hex extender in conjunction with the Duratrax 12 millimeter. And you guys have probably seen this upgrade I had posted several weeks ago if you watch my channel. But basically, these guys are a perfect fit right here. The problem is just a heads up to everybody. When I went to fully crank this down in conjunction with the upgraded GPM steering block, I ran out of real estate. Basically, when I fully snugged down the barrel onto the axle, I had contact, and definitely had some friction going on. So my solution to that in case anybody wants to combine those two parts, is basically you want to get some of these little techno shims. And what you're going to do is you're going to put 2 of these shims. I think they're 10 to a pack. You're going to put 2 on the bare axle. Then you're going to put your set pin in. Then you put this whole deal in. So essentially these are pressed up against the bearing. The other option that I found worked anyway was the Team Associated rear axle shims. These are 1/4 inch, and the part number is 4554. During the storm, I was getting bored, and I decided to go ahead and put these G-locks on here. These I made these a long time ago. This are basically, it's a Proline F11 2.8 rim, offset rim that I taped these. I'm sorry, that I glued these J Concept G-locks on. So anyway, these tires are super fun. They're ribbed internally, so ballooning is actually not ridiculous. I think I've been well into the 60s with these tires, and they've done great. But the thing I want to share with you guys, and mind you, I'm definitely not a speed run guy, but in my boredom, I decided to design a spool. So basically, what I have in my gearbox here is I bought a Traxxas Revo 38 tooth Mod 1 spur gear, and what I ended up doing was when I was at my hobby shop, I saw a couple slipper hubs, Arrma slipper hubs. So what I started envisioning, you know, basically drilling 3 holes through both slipper hubs and affixing them to the gear with really small tapered screws. And anyway, so I gave this a bench test, but basically I've got the biggest Mod 1 pinion I own in here. I've got a 23 tooth paired with that 38 spur. In haste, I kind of forgot to put my heatsink back on, but you'll notice I've got this is the stock system that I normally run in here, and I had extra parts thanks to Jenny's RC. I had ordered some stuff. So anyway, this is my normal Typhon setup. Well, you'll see this piece here extends quite a bit further. So anyway, my spring, I ended up having to pull my spring holder and move it forward 1 notch. So anyway, this is at maximum. Basically, the spring tension is almost non-existent at this point. So I'm going to give this a quick run in the front. Basically, I had to use a bench grinder and really shorten the short shaft end towards the gear on both of these slipper hubs. But the part number I used, again, I used 2 of them, AR310789, and the gear that ended up working was the Traxxas 3954. Using one of the stock motor mounts, and it just so turns out that when I mounted the motor at the 20 tooth mark, the mesh ended up being perfect between. Well, it looks like 65, but the number's broken, guys. So I think this thing's got a lot more. Maybe with some better tires and just a better spot where I got plenty of room to like really hold it wide open. So, oh darn it, it's shut down again. It's probably getting too hot, guys. I don't know. Yep, still 64. So anyway, guys, well, I'll toy around with this a little bit, but yeah, definitely good times. It's definitely sketchy in my front yard, kind of streaming down through here with manholes, etc. So I'll pick a different spot and maybe get some better tires. But I gotta say, this little Arrma Typhon 3S is just so fun. Oh, oh, I hit that reflector, guys. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I'm still at peak speed of 64, so that might be all this sucker's got, the way it's set up. I'm not really sure, but I'd like more space with a smoother road to kind of give this a proper test. Again, GRPs, they don't fit on here, unfortunately, without hex extenders. So these little guys are awesome. They do balloon, though, once you get probably, I don't know, over 60 for sure. So. Oh, don't know if you guys can hear that. There's the power cutting out again. All right, maybe that's LVC, I'm not sure. Slipper housing, the motor plate got up to about 200 degrees, so I'm going to open this up just to show you guys really fast what I'm talking about. Yeah, this thing's way too hot to hold. Well, that was classic. When I took this apart, I noticed my pinion was floating all over the place, so I think it had actually, unfortunately, I forgot to go back and thread lock everything, so I'm glad nothing worse happened. But anyway, I just went ahead and put some blue locker on there. But here's a shot of this, and here's the backside as well. So anyway, it was pretty easy to do, and so far it seems to be working okay. I just gotta hopefully try this again when I'm a little better prepared, have everything set up overnight, and maybe try a different spot. So. Ooh.